We're now joined by political correspondent Jamie McDonald. Jamie, thank you for joining us. So for those of us who are struggling with the complexity of all these bills, could you please explain the difference between the three of them?
Well, yeah, it can be quite hard to keep track. So yesterday the Scottish Government published what they're calling the Continuity Bill, and it sets out the SNP's ambition to ensure that powers return to Holyrood during the transition phase after Brexit. But they're facing a legal battle on that from the Tories and the presiding officer. Now, the UK government would rather decide on those devolved issues through negotiation, but talks have reached a bit of a stalemate in recent weeks. And all of this comes as the EU have decided to publish another bill today which sets out the terms of negotiation in the transition period. And they're honing in again on that Northern Ireland issue, which seems to be the sticking point at the moment. So there's still a long way to go.
Thank you, Jamie.
Uber is incredibly successful and have taken a fair share of the market from conventional black cabs. But critics of the firm say the success comes from the fact that their drivers are self-employed and therefore don't receive basic workers' rights such as national minimum wage or holiday pay.
Criticism of the UK government's handling of Brexit has increased across Scotland and Britain, according to a new study. The research led by Sir John Curtis suggests that levels of pessimism over Brexit are now similar across the UK. Jamie McDonald reports.
New figures from NatSen, one of Britain's biggest social research centres, shows that Scotland's attitude to Brexit is becoming increasingly downbeat. Professor Sir John Curtis and his team carried out 859 face-to-face interviews in Scotland and a further 2,200 across the rest of the UK in order to gauge the mood. The study found that 69% of Scots think the UK government is handling Brexit badly, up from 57% just a year ago. The figure across the UK was 61%, up 20% from last year. But one stat that will dog Nicola Sturgeon is the stagnation in support for independence. The survey found that 44% still support a yes vote, but that's down 1% from last year. But perhaps the most damaging outcome for the SNP is Scotland's attitude to immigration. NatSen found that 59% of Scots back an end to freedom of movement within the EU. The First Minister has repeatedly called for borders to remain open after the Brexit process is complete.
I personally don't mind it. For working for the NHS, I think we really do rely heavily on people coming into the country with expertise, knowledge, bringing different skills and experience. So I don't mind it at all. I think it needs to be well managed and considered when we're looking at services. But no, I don't have a problem with it at all.
And where I work, there are lots of people from the EU, and if all of us had to go to leave, Scotland or the United Kingdom, it would cause major problems, I think, in my opinion.
I think immigration is a good thing. Scotland's a very cosmopolitan country. We have much to offer.
Our political correspondent Jamie McDonald joins us now in the studio. So, yesterday saw a bit of a fallout between Holyrood and Westminster over Clause 11. What's been the reaction from ministers?
Well, as we know, the Clause 11 is the part of the EU withdrawal bill which relates specifically to devolution. Now, the Scottish Secretary, David Mundell, had said that amendments to the bill would be tabled in the House of Commons and debated today. That's been the case for some time, but plans to do so were dropped just last night. The SNP have been calling this a power grab, and just over an hour ago, before we came on air, the party's leader at Westminster, Ian Blackford, raised the issue at Prime Minister's questions. Interestingly enough, he actually quoted a Scottish Conservative MSP, Paul Masterton, who has joined his colleagues north of the border in saying that the clause is not fit for purpose.
So where do you think this story is going to end up?
Well, much to the torment of the SNP, the amendments will now be debated in the House of Lords. And then the Scottish Nationalists, it's no secret that there are no fans of the peers. They've been insisting that the amendments should be decided or should not be decided by unelected members. Back in Scotland, I'm hearing that tonight the Scottish Conservatives are going to be meeting to carve out their position on the clause, which so far seems to be leaning away from their Westminster counterparts.
Thanks, Jamie.